Ringer Fantasy Football Show. My name is Danny Heifetz. I am joined by Danny Kelly and Craig Horlbeck. And today we are going through our must-add players after week 2. Here's how this is going to work. We're going to go position by position. We're each going to give our top pick at that position. And if each of us, or any of us, pick the same player, then we're going to do a little trivia, showdown, waiver, tiebreaker. It's not very complicated, I promise. You'll figure it out. It's not very hard. Email us at ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com if you have trivia questions for next week. If you have thoughts on any of the trivia topics for our Power Hour episode on Wednesday, and also just email us whatever, it's on your mind. And also Sundays, we're also taking Sunday categories. We're doing this live on the Sunday show too. So boom, email us at ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com. And for the trivia, it's got to be a number, a year, a date, whatever, anything we can get wrong in an order. I think we just got to dive into waivers today in a moment. But first, Bryce Young got benched.
Yeah.
Just going to dive right into that to start. DK, Panthers head coach Dave Canales has benched Bryce Young. Are you surprised that this has happened already, DK?
It's a little surprising that they have given up on this experiment so quickly. But I mean, if you look at what they did on the field, it's not that surprising. So I would say overall, it felt like Canales was hired to fix Bryce Young. And they're already giving up on that, apparently, after 2 games.
Can't do it. Tried. Can't do it.
So that's surprising, but ultimately, there's been a lot of talk, he's going to lose the locker room if they don't make a change here. The offense was by far the worst in the NFL through the first 2 weeks. They were non-viable as an offense, basically.
Craig, you have a condo. Have you tried to fix anything and given up immediately so far? But
Look, I call the experts.
I renovated a lot of this condo, and I did it without a contractor, and it was a disaster. And so if the quarterback is the contractor of an NFL offense. So if you don't have a good contractor, you're screwed.
Well, yeah. So Dave Canales said that he basically watched the tape and they benched him. He went to Andy Dalton. I agree, DK. It's you're going to lose the locker room because it's not a serious thing. It also, Dave Canales was asked if Panthers owner David Tepper had any involvement in the decision, to which Dave Canales said, and I quote, "I'm going to keep that private." Which
you should have been "You're an adult. You take a guess."
Yeah, it's.
This also wasn't Dave Canales' experiment. He was not on this team when they drafted Bryce Young. So I feel like, it's not working out. You can't lose the locker room. Andy Dalton is a viable starter. This probably makes sense. It's an absolute brutal. I mean, this is now going down. It already was, but this is getting worse and worse every single day in terms of all-time bad trades and all-time bad first-round picks. Not only did they give Caleb Williams to the Bears, they passed up on CJ Stroud, taking Young first while Stroud went second. There's so much to this trade that is so brutal for Tepper, the Panthers, and Bryce.
This is, you're 100% agree, Craig. This is the black hole collapse that other teams are going to point to or be afraid of. This is probably going to, frankly, be what owners, coaches, GMs are afraid of for the next 5 to 10 years. Is we don't want to end up like those guys. You know what I mean? And I mean, there's so many stats. It almost feels like we're picking on them, but just one that stood out to me this morning of just how bad this has been. Bryce Young became the third player in the past 20 seasons to average 4 fewer yards per dropback and 4 straight starts. That one really, and then also just what Austin Gale here at the Ringer told me yesterday, what I couldn't believe of just the Panthers' success rate on offense the first 2 weeks of the season was the worst any team has had since the Texans in 2002 when they were added as an expansion team. So, I mean, that's, it's you can't look the other 52 guys on the roster and be go out there and try really hard. It just
put
untenable.
Your health at risk for this, it just doesn't make sense.
So the Panthers are going to go with Andy Dalton. We can get to what's next with them in a moment. I think it's worth lingering though on this, on just the trade for a moment, because I kind of have kind of a hot take. I'm not going to lie. So obviously the Panthers trade is going to go down in history, right? Because they could have gave up, they gave up basically DJ Moore, a first, 2 seconds, Caleb Williams, and all you got was Bryce Young. I'm not going to lie. I think the trade was fine. I think the trade was fine.
Moment?
In the
process?
I think that the problem, the trade's going to go down in history. The problem was that they took Bryce Young over CJ Stroud. Because if they had taken CJ Stroud, which is, from what I understand, what Frank Reich, the coach at the time, wanted to do, from what I understand, it's what Josh McCown, the quarterback's coach at the time, wanted to do. They wanted Stroud. And from what I understand, David Tepper wanted Bryce Young. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I believe
the S2 test.
Yeah, exactly. And so what I understand, David Tepper wanted Bryce Young over Stroud. If CJ Stroud had been even 70% as good in Carolina as he was in Houston, we're wow. he's really good. And they probably don't deliver the number 1 pick to the Bears. I actually think there's an alternate world.
Right.
The Panthers took Stroud. We're all like, wow, Chicago could have had Stroud, and now they have the 5th pick, and they have to trade up to get Drake May or something. This could have played out very differently. We're going to make fun of them forever for the trade, but passing on Bright, like taking Young over Stroud, I think is the actual lesson to learn, to be honest.
Well, it's like, how good was that QB class now looking back? Like, I remember a year before that draft, it was kind of seen as though Stroud was the guy. And then the season, the college football season went by, and then it was kind of like, oh, is it Bryce Young? Is it CJ Stroud? Is there a third person in the mix? Do you feel like, DK, that the Panthers felt so strongly that Bryce Young was the guy that they traded up for it? Or do you think David Tepper was like, I want to be relevant. I want to make a splash. I don't really care who was the number 1 quarterback in the draft. I just want to be taking the number 1 quarterback in the draft.
Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I feel like there was a thought at the time that they just can't keep doing what they're doing at all. They just need to make a move. They need to do something big. Which
is always a bad sign when you're like, we don't feel super passionately about the guy we're taking. We just need to take somebody to like change the narrative and get some good vibes in the building so people can write about us and have some confidence, even though we don't really think he's the guy.
The other team that did that was the 49ers, who moved up to the 3rd pick in 2021.
I hate that process.
And they didn't know. They were like, Mac Jones or Trey Lance, one of them will be there. We'll figure it out later, as opposed to having an opinion. They probably thought we're leaning Mac Jones, changed their mind to Trey Lance. Turned out both were bad. And they could have just sat there and got Mac Jones if they wanted.
It's hard to have that patience.
I kind of contend that Mac Jones would have been good in the 49ers system still.
Yeah, but I agree with that.
But yeah,
to the point though, the Panthers, when they did this again, they got rid of Darnold, they got rid of Baker Mayfield. We don't have to crown Sam Darnold. It's been 2 weeks, but clearly the Panthers are the problem. The Panthers are clearly David Tepper. Not breaking new ground here, but the impatience as an owner has been astounding. And I don't know. I think that it's easy. It's easy to point to the front office of the team or whatever. But like from what I understand, David Tepper wanted Bryce Young, and so this is his problem.
It's the thing that I keep thinking and coming back to is how crystal clear this feels in retrospect. But at the time, like everybody was pretty high on Bryce Young. Like, you know what I mean? Like I had him ranked really highly on my draft. I had CJ Stroud higher, but I still had Bryce Young really high.
You had Stroud as your number. You had Stroud as your number 1 quarterback in that class.
Yeah. And then, and we talked about it at the time. We're basically like, look, this guy is an all-time outlier for his size. There's never even been a first-round quarterback his size taken in the first round at all. Not to mention the first pick,
shortest quarterback ever, and the thinnest,
and
the lightest,
right? Because Kyler is obviously very short, but you're talking about combo height and weight.
Because Bryce Young even now is listed at 5'10", 204, and like he was probably 188 if we're being honest when he was playing at Alabama. Yeah. Kyler at least has some thick to him.
I think at the time we had very legitimate concerns about the lack of size, but we were so kind of enamored, I think, with his processing skills and everything like that, we kind of looked past the very clear and obvious physical downside to this pick. And so now, obviously, 2 years later, or not even 2 years, a year later, it so very clearly was never going to work, I feel like. But, that's I guess the process. And, especially, Anthony Richardson also went in this draft, who is like a polar opposite physically than Bryce Young. He's still going through his growing pains as a passer, but he certainly has much higher upside, much higher potential right now than Bryce Young, who feels like it feels like his career is over. His career is not over. He might get another chance, but this decision is monumental for his career.
And here's the thing too. I think a perfect juxtaposition, because again, Kyler is 5'10" on paper, Bryce Young's 5'10" on paper. And why is one guy maybe out of the NFL in a few years and Kyler Murray is, honestly, I think playing as well as almost anyone right now. Kyler Murray had that play this week where he dodged what felt like 17 defenders in the pocket and then scrambled around and found Elijah Higgins, the tight end of the end zone. Kyler Murray, the escapability, the scrambling, he makes up for the height. The same way Drew Brees had this otherworldly footwork and the classic pocket passer style. Kyler Murray has a better version of what Russell Wilson had when he was young. Russell Wilson's short, can't really see over the offensive line, but the scrambling, the improvisation is a 10 out of 10. Bryce Young, I think we got a bench. Shout out Stephen Ruiz, who was on this, like on Bill Simmons' podcast a couple weeks ago, saying this would happen.
Yeah.
Stephen Ruiz was saying yesterday they're going to have to bench Bryce Young, and we're recording this on Monday, September 16th. But Stephen had a great thread. But basically, Bryce Young, he's on his tippy toes, just like he was at Bama. But he's like, I'm talking like check downs, like 3rd and 20 or 4th and 3. Like he is really having to tippy toes just to throw a check down over the tackle.
He's almost jump throwing like Derrick Henry does at the goal line. He's like jump throwing over the offensive line to check it down to the running back in front of him.
And that's one of those where you're like, like how the fuck did we think this was going to work?
A little bit of a dead dove, a little bit of a hindsight is 2020.
Yeah, very much so.
This is where I get my takes from. Like, we were like, oh, why are we so bad at picking quarterbacks? And to me, there's two answers. Part of it's there's no industry in the entire world that's good at hiring. Like, I've never heard of an industry where everyone's like, they get all those picks right. And the other one is they don't actually let the real job interviews would be if Bryce Young had come to OTAs, if the process was different and Bryce Young had spent 3 days at OTAs, the coaches would have watched it and been like, nope. And
shadowing the veteran. Yeah.
He wouldn't have been a first. Yeah. He wouldn't have been a first rounder.
And actually, it's going the other way now where Marvin Harrison Jr. is like, I'm not doing any of your little events.
Yeah,
you can pick me.
But if they actually had to show up, then I think that Bryce Young wouldn't have been a first rounder. But you get into the.
Heifetz, like your point is very true. It's so wild to me. And this still happens like every year. And you've heard GMs talk about it, like where, relatively high pick, first, second, third rounder pick, they come in and on day one, at not even training camp, like pre-training camp, OTAs, they're like, oh, this was a bad pick. Like, this isn't going to work. Imagine all the work that went into that guy, like the tape study, the background study, the analytical stuff, like all the combine stuff. And it's just all out the window immediately. Like day one, they're like, oh, wait, this is a terrible pick.
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of what's next, so Andy Dalton's going to play for the Panthers. I actually think if you drafted like a Deontay Johnston and you've just been like sad, I actually think the Panthers offense is not going to be great, but I think the Panthers will be.
It'll be more functional.
They might be fine. Yeah. They might be okay. Like, we'll see what happens. But Andy Dalton, he's a veteran. He's the exact opposite. So he's going to be able to run a normal offense. So I think Deontay Johnson might get a lot of targets. Year? Yeah, exactly.
For the Browns.
I think that it's worth keeping an open mind. Like, that was Flacco with, the Browns' third string offensive line is not that far off what the Panthers were. You know what I mean? There's something to be said. So we'll see what happens. The Panthers, they're not going to be as, the Houston Texans level from 2002 that they were now. So RIP to Bryce Young. Okay. You guys want to get to waivers? Let's do it. So again, we're doing this waiver. We're just going to go. Everyone's going to give their number one pick at each position. We'll do trivia, tiebreaker. DK, a lot of injuries at running back this week. Isaiah Pacheco, the Chiefs running back, broken fibula, but I don't know if it's like a broken leg as much as I don't know exactly, but it's ankle. But we actually just got word. So Pacheco is going to be out approximately 6 to 8 weeks, and he's going to go on injured reserve, and then he wants to come back this season. But for fantasy purposes, I have no idea if Pacheco will be back earlier than the playoffs, like the fantasy playoffs, or maybe at all. So anyway, so Pacheco's out. We also currently don't know the status of Joe Mixon, Texans running back. He got hurt last night, really weird tackle, came back, left again. He could be fine and playing this week. He could be out for a month by the time you're listening to this. So check that. But given what we know right now, DK, who's your number one running back you would pick on waivers?
Oh my God. The Chiefs situation, I think, is an absolute mess. I almost just want to stay away from it. I mean, you have to, I think, throw a dart at one of these guys, Samaje Perine, Carson Steele. There is a report out today that just happened that Kareem Hunt is coming into Kansas City for a visit. CEH still in the picture. Somehow he's on the PUP list, so he'll be back after week 4. The Chiefs situation is an absolute mess. I think I would lean very, very slightly that Samaje Perine is the guy over Carson Steele because he's going to get most of the passing down work. But I think I'm just going to stay away from that whole situation in this case. I think I'm going to go instead. Oh man, I'm choosing between two guys. I guess I'm going to stick with Bucky Irving for the Buccaneers. We talked about him on a previous show. He just continues to impress me with the way he runs the ball. He's cutting into Rachaad White's snap load a little bit here. And Rachaad White also sustained a minor groin injury in this last game. And, obviously he continued to play, he came back, but groin injuries are a little bit tricky, I think.
Well, the Giants kicker had a groin injury over the weekend, and that went fine.
The groin injuries worry me. So I'm kind of zigging when everyone else is zagging here, and I'm going to go with Bucky Irving for the Buccaneers. I just think he's looked good. He has 98 scrimmage yards on 18 touches. Rachaad White has 129 scrimmage yards on 32 touches. And so, as the season goes along, maybe we see that trend towards more of a 50-50 split.
You're kind of like you're sitting out the day trading trend. You're like this was like when everybody was on Robinhood in the pandemic, and you're like, I'm just going to put my money in a mutual fund and I'll check at the end of the year, and Bucky Irving will be the right guy.
Pretty much.
It's so hard with the Chiefs because it's like you're like something's got to be there. Like this is the Chiefs. I can have a running back. Yeah. This weird Carson Steele guy who really doesn't look that good. He's
like a fullback. They literally have been talking about him as a fullback.
He's a fullback with an alligator. He's a pet alligator.
Yeah. To be honest, if I knew Joe Mixon was going to miss week 2 or week 3, maybe week 4, I think I would pick Dameon Pierce. Pierce didn't even play this week because he had a hamstring injury. He was limited this week. Cam Akers played, but Pierce has been the backup. If Mixon is out, I'm taking Dameon Pierce first, I think, out of any of these guys. Do you agree with that?
It's funny you say that. If Mixon's out, I feel like Cam Akers will keep the job over Dameon Pierce.
So it's just clear as mud this week, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really hard.
I think this is representative, though. We can't even agree on anything. I think that it's very strange. It's not, this isn't a week to spend a ton of money on a waiver budget or whatever. If
but there's a lot to do. Like everybody will be adding all these guys. So it will be very busy. It's not going to be a quiet Tuesday night.
My perspective on this that I think people should take away is that hopefully that because we're not at bye weeks yet, you're not actually urgent enough that you need to plug someone off waivers and plug them into your lineup for this week. Hopefully not. And so if you're able to take a longer term perspective view, I think you should do that. Either that's claiming someone or keeping a waiver claim for higher, if you can move up the ranks. To Craig's point, DK, I'm curious what you think. I think Cam Akers actually ran really well in relief of Joe Mixon. And I actually think that Dameon Pierce I don't think he's played very well at all since the Texans went to this Kyle Shanahan San Francisco 49ers scheme, which is what they run. And I just feel like Dameon Pierce, I actually think he's still a good running back, but Cam Akers just did his job. I don't know how he's coming off the Achilles injury and like running so well, but he is. He ran really hard. I feel like Cam Akers, I'd be surprised to see Dameon Pierce come out of nowhere after not playing and then outplaying Cam Akers. Meanwhile, Cam Akers has been played for McVay in the Rams, and then the Vikings with Kevin O'Connell coming to this. I just feel like he knows what to do, and he's running sharper, harder, more discerning. So I actually think Cam Akers would replace Mixon, but it's really hard.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you about the performance, but it just depends on what the coaches decide to do here. Like they came into the season with Dameon Pierce as the backup.
Yeah, Pierce was listed as the backup, and I think he is better than Cam Akers. Cam Akers coming off 2 back-to-back Achilles tears. He also fumbled last night.
On that note, all these fucking picks fumbled. Carson Steele fumbled. Carson Steele fumbled. If any team, it's like, Bruce Arians would just bench someone for the game if they fumbled. Andy Reid's very forgiving of that. Deontay Foreman for the Browns fumbled at like the 1 yard line. Like,
Akers almost lost the game for the Texans. Yeah. He fumbled on the 4 yard line, and that was to put the game away if he had held onto the ball.
Yeah, no, point. It's not great. I'm not like half the people we're going to talk about for running backs fumbled. So like that right there. But so we'll see. Maybe this is all for naught if Mixon is fine. And we'll see what happens there, but glad we could clear that up for people. I vote Akers, but to Craig's point, it could be Pierce too. I think if Mixon's okay, just coming back to what DK said about the Chiefs, I agree with you, DK, because so the Chiefs, I just feel like there is no 1-for-1 replacement with Pacheco. And the answer is really simple. Mm-hmm. Carson Steele will get the goal line work. And if they're on the 1 yard line, I feel like Mahomes is not a quarterback sneak guy. They're like the anti-Eagles. And so they're probably going to be giving the ball to Carson Steele at the 1 yard line. But I also do not think the rookie fullback is going to be there like on all pass protection. That's what Samaje Perine was signed for. So Samaje Perine's going to get all this passing down work. Carson Steele's going to get the goal line work. And we'll see who gets the early down stuff. But part of me is like, I don't feel any of these guys are going to be reliable in any way. They're all going to be like flex week, bye week fill-ins if you're desperate. And you just hope they get a touchdown or not. And Carson Steele's probably more likely to get a touchdown. Samaje Perine's going to be more likely to get a bunch of catches. But like, it just feels more like whack-a-mole than anything. It's not going to be like exciting. Yeah. They could sign Jerick McKinnon. They could get Kareem Hunt. Like it's not. I don't see this as some like awesome opportunity as much as just like, all right, you'll have this guy and you never know when to blame.
Yeah, exactly. So what are we doing? Are we doing no trivia then? Because we all disagree on everybody?
Well, I don't even have it. So who is your selection?
I actually would take Ty Chandler, the running back for the Vikings, because I look at it. Ty Chandler.
Why not? I like that.
Because here's why. Yeah. It's similar to Bucky Irving in that you have, I think the Bucky Irving thing makes a lot of sense because you have a 2-man backfield. I don't think anyone has gotten a carry for the Buccaneers other than Bucky Irving and Rachaad White. Rachaad White is a groin injury. So now you're like, all right, well, if Rachaad White got hurt, Bucky Irving's going to be the guy to some extent. The difference to me is Ty Chandler, I think, is more advanced in his career. So he's like 26. If Aaron Jones is one of the oldest starting running backs in the NFL right now that Raheem Mostert is hurt, Aaron Jones is 29, 30, and like he always has hamstrings or stuff. There's always going to be a limit.
He got a little nicked up in this last game too.
Exactly. So I think Ty Chandler is a mix of, you can play him in your flex. Like, he got 10 carries for 82 yards this week. You can play Ty Chandler right now and you can survive.
Flex with benefits. Ty Chandler, Bucky Irving. These other guys are exactly like you said. It's whack-a-mole. Maybe you'll hit on Samaje Perine. Maybe Carson Steele will be the guy. Maybe Kareem Hunt will be the guy. Maybe a CEH will be the guy.
But the difference is if Aaron Jones gets hurt, I think Ty Chandler would be getting like a pretty good sized workload for Minnesota.
He would be exactly.
So that's to me, I think Ty Chandler, you're kind of cheating and getting, having your cake eating it too. You could play Ty Chandler as soon as the buys start in week 4, but also, it's Aaron Jones probably going to miss a game at some point.
I think I'm going to go with Bucky Irving.
Oh, yeah.
I picked him last week. I think I'm going to stick with him again this week.
I think that makes sense. I still would rather have Bucky. And again, watch Carson Steele go and have 3 touchdowns this week, or Samaje Perine just like has a huge role.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, I think that the point is like, you're not going to know. And also those are fine ads. If you're desperate for running back, you can go and get Carson Steele or Samaje Perine.
Would you rather have Perine or Steele next week? Let's say you have Joe Mixon, you have Isaiah Pacheco, you need to fill in.
Yeah. Chiefs are playing Atlanta.
I would do Perine.
I think Perine will be on the field more because I think the Chiefs are going to pivot to passing more. But I think Carson Steele is more likely to get a touchdown just because of the 1 or 2 yard line. But I probably agree with DK. We're just, damn, if you look at, there's a whole wider passing conversation to have right now about the league. But if you just look at where Mahomes is throwing the ball right now, it's all within the line of scrimmage. I feel like it's just like one of those Perine's. We don't have a name for this, but there's a type of running back that sometimes you just need like one drive where they just check it down to the running back like 3 times and they get like 30 yards. And you're like, all right, that was like 7 points in my PPR league. And like, now I'm not going to like be embarrassed I played this guy. I think Perine has that potential for like the one passing drive from Mahomes just gets it all done. But it's ugly. Hard. It's going to be, it's not going to be cool or sexy because it's Kansas City.
Perine hasn't played 10 snaps in a game this year.
Well, they just signed him like 3 weeks ago. He's on the Malik Willis timeline. Like he was on the Broncos till like 3.5 weeks ago.
I think if it's next week, I'm taking Steele. I think long-term, maybe Perine.
So, yeah. All right.
Cool. So we all agree on everything then. Do you want to do the Bucky Irving showdown time or do you want to talk about a few other guys first?
We'll do the showdown time and we'll make someone else pick.
What's nice here is like there's so many damn options, even if we don't get Bucky Irving. This is essentially the fight for Bucky Irving versus one of those Chiefs running back. All right. It is the Bucky Irving showdown time.
All right. This is from Luke.
Oh, we just heard the gong in our ears.
Wow.
Usually we don't get to hear that.
Hell yeah, Kai.
Kai has leveled up.
Kai, you sandbagging son of a bitch. He didn't tell us that he could do that.
This is from Luke.
Luke.
How many ships and planes combined have disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle?
Oh, great question.
Ever?
I don't think we're going to like Ponce de Leon.
Ships and planes. Man. Okay.
Wow, this is a really hard question.
I know. I don't really know what to say.
How many ships and planes have disappeared?
The beauty of these questions is we never even have any fucking clue whether we're going to be like astronomically high or astronomically low.
And these are just like reported stories of planes and ships that were never found again.
Sure.
I mean, that's what disappeared means, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. I got DK's going to say 700.
Maybe.
All right. I guess I'm ready. Man, I got no idea here.
3, 2, 1. 55. No shit. Fuck. I said 52. You said 55?
Uh-huh.
I said 500. Went a bit high.
DK's always going big. All right. I got a nice window here. I got a nice window here.
You know, we should do something where you get to change if you want, if you're freaked out when other people.
Is it going to be like 12?
No, it's got to be more than that.
The answer is 70.
Let's go.
Damn. 50 ships, 20 planes.
That's it? I mean, that's a lot of ships, but still.
We should say
all of recorded time.
We're keeping track of all of our trivia results this year. I believe each one of us got a tally last week. So it was even heading into today. Carlos and Kai are keeping track for us.
All right. So Craig, you get Bucky Irving. I'm taking Ty Chandler from the Vikings. You get Bucky Irving from the Bucs. DK, you have to pick someone else. So we talked about the Chiefs running backs, Perine, Carson Steele. You take Perine and the Chiefs. Would you take him over? Is there anyone else you'd consider?
I mean, the other people that I would consider are either Damian Pierce and Cam Akers, like we mentioned, Braylon Allen for the Jets, who to me is more of just a really high upside handcuff at this point. Blake Corum's still out there, just the way the Rams season's going. Just saying.
Lean on
just
that.
saying.
If you're trying to add the upside profile of your bench, if basically you have 2 or 3 running backs, you don't need to play any of these guys, but you want to just have one guy at the end of your bench, I think Braylon Allen's the guy to have on the end of your bench because, so he had 7 carries, 33 yards and a touchdown, and he had 2 catches, 23 yards and a touchdown. He's amazing. He's big. He's 6'1". He's 235. He's fast.
He looks really good. They actually used Breece Hall as a decoy on one of the plays where Braylon Allen scored.
If Breece Hall got hurt, I think we would have to rank Braylon Allen in the top 15 every week that Breece Hall got hurt.
Yeah,
I think that he's unquestionably.
These backups where it's they will be the guy and get the bulk of the carries. You can't really, there's nobody on the Chiefs where you can say they will for sure get 20 carries in a game. If Braylon Allen is playing, Blake Corum is playing, and Kyron Williams goes down, I think you can slot those guys in for heavy double-digit carries. So that's easily the best long-term play you can make if your team is okay right now.
And Braylon Allen is the youngest NFL player to score a touchdown since Arnie Herber.
He's the youngest player in the NFL, full stop.
Arnie Herber.
He's 20 years old, right?
Yeah. Arnie Herber, who was born in 1910. He was Arnold Charles Flash Herber.
That's cool.
All right. Well, I really like the Braylon Allen one as a stash, but I'm going to just say Samaje Perine and take a stab at this Chiefs backfield. I don't feel super confident about it as we've fully discussed. But I'm going with Perine just an edge over Carson Steele here right now. And then keep an eye on Kareem Hunt, obviously, this week. I'm guessing they'll probably sign him to their practice squad. And then 2 weeks down the line, Kareem Hunt's starting for them. You know what I mean? But if we're just talking about this next week, I guess I'm going to go with Perine.
The other person I just want to mention, too, is just Deontay Foreman for the Browns, who had 1 snap in week 1, 1 snap. And Deontay Foreman led the Browns in touches in week 2. And he had twice as many touches as Jerome Ford. And then he fumbled near the goal line. So I don't know.
I didn't think he looked great.
No, he had twice as many carries, half as many yards as Jerome Ford.
I don't understand what they're doing.
I don't get it either because he's super north-south. And then you watch Deontay Foreman and you're like, okay, you can't know south. You watch Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford has so much juice. He looks it looks like Deontay Foreman hit the quicksand in Mario Kart or whatever. He's running on the grass. And then Jerome Ford's whizzing by in the actual pavement. But then I don't know why. But
it's weird.
If that keeps up, Deontay Foreman in a deeper league is viable. But I don't know. It's really strange to me.
Also, Antonio Gibson, keep him on your radar. If Ramondre Stevenson ever got nicked up, he could be potentially very valuable. So another deep stash type guy. I don't think you probably want to start him. He did have 11 carries in this last game, though.
All right. Any of the running backs? You guys want to go to receiver?
Let's go to receiver. Kind of a bloodbath at wide receiver.
Yeah.
Jeez. So we didn't even mention on the Sunday show the A.J. Brown drama of eventually he was ruled out before Monday Night Football, but right at the buzzer for news. So I think it was a lot of stress that A.J. Brown, we didn't know if he's going to play or not. So he's out for Monday Night Football. And we're recording this before Monday Night Football. Cooper Kupp got injured before halftime of the Cardinals blowout. We still don't know exactly what's up with Cooper Kupp. Hollywood Brown for the Chiefs is out for the season. Justin Jefferson is a thigh bruise. He's probably okay. And then Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, they're healthy, but then Tua, he's in the concussion protocol. We have no idea what's going to happen there. So just overall, crazy start to the season for receiver. Obviously, Puka Nacua is on IR. Just
Amon-Ra St. Brown hurt his knee.
Amon-Ra's, he's banged up and he's playing, but he's clearly not 100%.
Did not look great. Packers wide receivers are essentially dead with Malik Willis until Jordan Love comes back.
It's crazy stuff at receiver. Having said that, I think the difference is it's not necessarily 1-to-1 where a receiver goes down and then you can be like, oh, well, you add this guy and it'll be like that. So it's a little harder with receivers. So with that said, DK, who's your number 1 receiver you would add this week?
Demarcus Robinson from the Rams feels like the highest floor / potentially even highest ceiling guy on the waivers right now. He's gone from the wide receiver 3 to the wide receiver 1 on the Rams in the process or in 2 weeks, basically.
I just became the most important guy at work, and it's ruined my life.
Puka Nacua is gone for, at least 4 weeks. It sounded like maybe even longer than that. I don't know exactly what Cooper Kupp's diagnosis is right now. He could be out multiple weeks. But Demarcus Robinson all of a sudden is the number 1 guy, and it feels like Stafford has pretty good trust with him. He adds an element of explosiveness. They pass to him down the field. Yeah, he's just kind of the obvious guy standing here right now. The last guy standing in the Rams offense. I also think Tyler Johnson and Tutu Atwell are worth stabs, on the waiver wire if you can't get Robinson. But I would put Robinson first on that list.
What do you think, Craig?
I did the same thing. Demarcus Robinson is a little bit proven. Tutu is as well, a little bit. But last year we saw this in the latter half of the season with Demarcus Robinson. He was actually like a top 20 guy as Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua were banged up at the end of last season. I mean, they're playing the Niners this week. Like in general, the Rams should probably just like take a week off. I think they should just like skip this week. But Demarcus Robinson led the team in routes run in week 2.
Yeah.
So
92% snaps, 87% routes per team dropback. So he's running a route on 87% of the times they throw the ball.
I'm curious what you guys think. Generally speaking, for week 2, the standard of week 2, I feel worse about this group of receivers than I have in a minute. Like, I don't feel I think that the bar for who you would cut for these guys, I think is lower than usually when we talk about it. I don't know about you guys, but like, I don't feel like I agree with everything you guys said. I think Demarcus Robinson's the safest guy in the Rams. The Rams are going to need the most, especially if Cooper Kupp's out. But I look at the Rams and I'm like, this team might just be awful. Like there was a stretch a couple of years ago where Stafford was just throwing for like 190 yards every week. And like, it was kind of a mess. The Rams offensive line's a mess. Even if they get Alec Jackson back at left tackle this week, I'm kind of like, it might be a little bit of a disaster. I think Demarcus Robinson's the most trusted. Tyler Johnston's the most talented. Jordan Whittington seems like he tries the hardest. So I don't know. It might just be a whack-a-mole
bless
there.
his heart. Yeah.
But so I guess Demarcus Robinson. Craig, I'm not going to lie. I thought you were going to take Quentin Johnston for the Chargers. 5 catches, 51 yards, 2 touchdowns.
I thought about it. They're playing the Steelers this week in Pittsburgh, and I don't know. This could be really funny, like throughout the rest of the season if this works out. Like I think right now where my head is at is like, look, DJ Chark's on IR. Palmer was banged up. He was even in the medical tent during the game. Ladd McConkey's a rookie and he's coming on. And he's actually been pretty good the first 2 weeks. Like I think there's 2 worlds. One is 5 weeks from now. It's like Ladd has emerged. Chark is back in the mix. Palmer's healthy and playing all right. And Quentin Johnston kind of moves back to the 4 slot where everybody thought he would be. And then the other world is that this is a first round talent that they've actually figured out. And he's kind of adjusted to the NFL level and actually has some chemistry with Herbert. And he is the most physically gifted player catching passes on this team. And he's a real guy.
I don't think Quentin Johnston is good. I think this will probably be the best game he has the entire season. Having said that, I think that my gut is to agree with you guys and go with Demarcus Robinson. Or no, my brain is telling me to agree with you guys. Go with Demarcus Robinson. He's in theory the best receiver on the Rams. He's going to play. My gut is kind of like, what if I'm wrong about Quentin Johnston? Because he's the first round pick in his second year. We've seen the story over and over and over again where the first round pick you didn't think was good comes back, has the second year, gets a little bit of confidence, which I think sometimes we forget how much that matters. And new coach, all this stuff. And we're like, yeah, but he sucks. I'm like, yeah, but we always think these guys are bad. That's why they're free.
Heifetz, I do this all the time. You have to hedge against your own biases. Like, even if I don't like a guy and think he sucks, sometimes I'll pick him up and just be like, just going to see how this goes. See how this works out.
That's where I'm at. If you have someone on your bench that you're kind of sick of, like, if you had added freaking Jeff Wilson and then you're like, all right, well, he had 2 carries on the Thursday and he got hurt anyway. It doesn't even matter. I'm like cutting his ass no matter what. I think Quentin Johnston I will take Quentin Johnston just because if I have to cut him next week and he does nothing versus the Steelers, as Craig said, Palmer's going to get healthier. Ladd McConkey will come back. DJ Chark, but if Quentin Johnston has another good game against the Steelers, then you're like, oh shit. So I think I would take Quentin Johnston because I think there's more upside. But I don't want to play him this week. But
I just don't think I can, in good conscience, select Quentin Johnston.
I don't think anyone
after
should
your summer of Palmer.
After my summer of Palmer.
Nobody should play Quentin Johnston this week, but I would add him just because I think that the upside, there's more upside to me of a first rounder in his second year for the rest of the season. But I guess maybe I'm cheating the exercise.
One little tidbit that I saw from fantasypoints.com today, 39% first read target rate for Quentin Johnston, which is 3rd most among all receivers in the NFL.
I'm telling you,
That's a small sample.
We're in dangerous territory where 5 weeks from now, Quentin Johnston might just be like good.
Yeah, I probably not, but you never know. Just a little hedge. Okay, so we have showdown time now.
That's right. Thank God it's not the Quentin Johnston showdown time. It is the Demarcus Robinson showdown time. Ooh, DK doesn't put the hands up anymore. He used to.
I am. I'm doing it. I was just doing it.
Oh, okay, sorry.
The gong hits like tom-tom.
Just kind of like I was a premature on the whole hand movement thing a little bit.
All right, this one's from Joshua.
Joshua.
How many studio albums have been released by the Wiggles?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Whoa.
Never. Who are the Wiggles?
Come on.
You're the dad. This is your thing, DK.
Famous Australian children's music group.
DK, this was like your
Nah, got
category,
nothing.
bro.
Is
Got
that
nothing.
right? Are you screwing with us?
No, I don't know who the Wiggles
You don't
are.
know?
I
they're
believe
like-
they're the most popular children's TV show band like ever.
Yeah, I think they probably are. They all wear different colors, like solid colors.
So like the Teletubbies?
If they were people, what all? Yeah, actually,
the color scheme is very Teletubbies esque.
Mm.
the
But
Teletubbies freaked me out.
yeah, they're weird.
they
They're
are
like the
kinda
Thumb
weird.
Kids and Spy Kids. Like,
Dude,
they
I was
seem-
just about to say they feel like they should be in Spy Kids.
yeah,
That's crazy.
They're freaky. Teletubby. Emails at ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com if you know what the fuck is up with the Teletubbies.
They do feel like they should be on like Willy Wonka or Spy Kids or something.
Yeah.
DK, do you know that song by the Wiggles? You know, fruit salad, yummy, yummy.
Nope. I've never heard this. I don't know what that is.
Maybe show Calvin. Maybe he'll like them.
I feel
Liz
like
is
I'm
right.
doing pretty fine without it right now.
Liz is right. You have been singing more.
Is it Liz is gonna be like fruit salad? What is he talking about? No, I've never heard of the Wiggles. I feel like I've been blessed to not have that in my life. Or is it actually
Probably.
good?
I don't know.
I mean, look, I'm not the judge of children's music, but I think they're good at what they do.
Okay. And I don't
good
really
at
listen,
what
but
they
I
do.
respect that they're doing it.
All right. How many albums have been released by the Wiggles?
Oh, come on.
God. Okay, I got a number, I guess.
All right. 3, 2, 1. 31.
60.
60, 30. What'd you say, DK?
7.
They've been around
7.
a while, and
I don't know.
They've been around a while, and I just feel like they
Get-
crank out albums.
Get the fuck out. The answer is 62.
Let's go.
Oh my
Wow.
God. Jeez.
Craig got it exactly right.
No, I said
No.
60. It was 62, but
Wow.
I mean,
Wow.
I'm kind
close.
of dialed today, boys.
DK, you got bodied.
This has been a rough
Damn.
day. It's been a rough life for trivia for me. I feel like I'm by far the worst at trivia.
All right, I got Demarcus. Heifetz gets Quentin Johnston. DK. I think there are actually a lot of viable options left.
Okay, so Demarcus Robinson, Quentin Johnston are gone. The other guys that I would consider here are Jerry Jeudy / Elijah Moore for the Browns. I don't really love the idea of taking any of these guys, but they've been Jerry Jeudy has been somewhat consistent to start the year, which is kind of wild.
14 targets through 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Amari Cooper has not been good whatsoever. I was looking at this and I was like double checking to make sure I had it. I had my search set correctly. Amari Cooper has 17 targets and he only has 5 catches for 27 yards. Like brutal
I think
start to the
Deshaun
season.
Watson has sucked. He's always under pressure. The Browns' offensive line's a disaster because everyone's hurt. But Watson actually, he looked better in week 2. I don't know if he could have looked worse after week 1.
Right. He did look a little bit better. Alec Pierce for the Colts, who is currently the wide receiver 4. I feel like we have to actually mention that.
Is this just fiduciary responsibility? Should we all just be like, actually take the guy who's got the
He is
fourth most
currently
points?
the 4th best receiver in the NFL.
Yeah,
according
he's
to
like-
half PPR points.
He could be last year's Rashid Shaheed, where every week it was like, man, another 50-yard touchdown for Rashid Shaheed. Like, this can't keep up. But so far, Alec Pierce, 3 touchdowns and 2 touchdowns in 2 games?
Yeah, maybe take that guy, DK. The guy with more points than the other guys.
Sorry, he's the wide receiver 5. Nico
Oh.
Collins. Nico
Well,
Collins leapt over him last
Doesn't
night.
even matter.
Pierce has 181 yards and 2 touchdowns in 2 weeks.
I don't know if the Giants have that. Well, Neighbors does. I don't know if the other Giants have.
But anyways,
181 yards.
that feels very fraudulent. The Alec Pierce thing. I got his name wrong last night. Alex Pierce. Jalen Naylor for the Vikings. If Justin Jefferson misses any time.
I don't think he said it's a bruise. It happens
I
all
know.
the time.
Well, that's true. But also Kenneth Walker went into a post-game press conference and said, I'm fine last Sunday. And then now he's maybe going to miss multiple weeks. So the lesson here is don't always trust what the players say because they're always like, super amped up on adrenaline and feeling pretty good. And then,
Smelling
as the week
salts.
goes on, they start to really hurt more. So I would say, man, I guess I'm just going to like play it safe here. Go Jerry Jeudy. Don't love it. I need to get better at trivia. Let's do this. The funny thing is, I feel like I'm good at actual real trivia, but these
This is what,
trivias-
fake trivia?
Yes, this is fake trivia because you're asking impossible questions.
Yes.
I can deduce things pretty well, like in real trivia situations, but I have no fucking clue with these trivias. Anyway, I guess I'll go with Jerry Jeudy, but I don't feel great about it.
We're going to contact the Wiggles and tell them you said that they're fake ass trivia.
Yeah, let them know.
Don't you, I feel like how many ships and planes were lost in the Bermuda Triangle is legitimate trivia.
Yeah.
That feels like the definition of trivia.
I have tried to start picking questions that are more like that than the with love.
So
to
are you
whoever
just saying
says
I'm
the one
dumb?
of
Is that what it is? You're just saying I'm dumb, Craig?
No.
Yeah, Craig
You're
is,
saying like how many stars are in the universe, and you're like, all right,
how many protons are there in like the Statue of Liberty? I think that's something where, you know what, I think
See,
like,
okay,
we're not even guessing a
about.
number as much as we're guessing like how many commas are in the number. That's, it's tough.
I always used to hate
That's
in
fair.
like middle school when they would make you guess how many M&Ms are in the jar. I hated that.
Oh, I just bribed the people to tell me the number and then I would guess and then I would win the M&Ms.
You would bribe them? Why didn't you just buy M&Ms then?
I don't know.
You know who I
The glory. You want the glory of getting it right.
That's
That's worth it. I get that.
Forgot to mention here. I feel we should mention is Josh Reynolds for the Broncos, who's been pretty solid. And I almost want to just change my answer.
Would you play Josh Reynolds in a league?
No, and I wouldn't want to play Jerry Jeudy either.
Play Alec Pierce. Why is no one playing this guy?
Take Alec Pierce.
Take Alec Pierce. He's going to catch a 40-yard touchdown.
Fucking, you know what? This is actually a great point. This is a great point. Shout out to my friend Brian, who was talking to me about this. And he has Ricky Pearsall on his team. And I was like, well, he got shot. I don't know if he's going to play. I don't know what's going to happen with him. And he was like, yeah, but I was Marie Kondoing my team. And I was like, I was going to cut him. And I was like, Ricky sparks joy. I like him on my team.
Glue
I
guy.
like having, and I was like, you know what? You're right, DK. Like, you know what? Jerry Jeudy. And who was the other guy you were just talking about?
Josh Reynolds.
Josh Reynolds does not spark joy. Alec Pierce, I think if you're watching Anthony Richardson and he connects with Alec Pierce on another 60-yard touchdown, I think that's more likely to spark joy. We're parsing receivers here.
Right.
I think that
All right.
matters.
I'm going to go with the overall wide receiver 5 in fantasy football. Fuck it. Even though I feel very confident he's going to get like one target for no catches this week, but let's just do this. Let's let it ride.
He uses his fucking hands, unlike Jerry Jeudy, who just catches at his goddamn belly button.
I've won both trivias, and I'm like, damn, DK's team is pretty good this week.
Yeah,
I feel like that actually happens a lot, Craig. Like we almost galaxy brain like the picks. And then you just end up taking the guy who's literally scored the 5th most points in fantasy so far at receiver.
Fucking incredible. All right, tight ends. Again, just, oh my God, the injuries, the tight end are insane. So David Njoku's hurt. Jake Ferguson missed last week. Evan Ingram was a very late scratch, got hurt in pregame warmups. Taysom Hill is a chest injury. So just a ton of issues at tight end. George Kittle left. I guess his cramps. DK, who's your number one tight end pick for this week?
Hunter Henry for the Patriots, who was basically the entire Patriots passing offense in this last game. He had 12 targets, 8 catches, 109 yards. He was one of my sleepers coming into the season. I remember just, they don't have a lot of veteran experienced guys in that passing game. Jacoby Brissett definitely leaned on him. They were drawing up plays for him in this game. And so I just, he's going to be very volatile. This Patriots offense is volatile in general. But tight ends sucked so far this year. Like, there's been almost no tight end touchdowns this season. It's crazy.
I think there's been almost no touchdowns. There were 110 passing touchdowns through 2 weeks, 3 years ago, and now there's 66 entering Monday Night Football. So that'll do it. Hunter Henry's my guy too. There's no question. Nate Jonke at Pro Football Focus, he does a great job. I thought this was a typo. New England targeted their wide receivers in week 2 on just 5 of their 27 pass attempts.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
5 of 27 attempts went to receivers. So yeah, I think tight end. Yeah, I think Hunter Henry's the guy. Craig, did you have him?
You have to pick him. It's bleak. He'll probably have 3 catches for 20 yards next week, but against the Jets
could
on
be
Thursday
top
night.
10. Yeah. You don't know.
The tight end 6 on the week. Yeah.
All right. That means it's time for the Hunter Henry showdown time.
All right. Fuck, that's so much
It's
better.
actually such a satisfying sound, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ugh. All right, this is from Otis.
Odie.
How many muscles are in an elephant's trunk?
Whoa.
I feel like it's either a lot or one.
Trying to tell me this is real trivia? This is not real trivia.
Dude, I like that one.
DK, give me an example of real trivia.
Oh, just off the top of my, I don't know. What was the battle that won the war or whatever?
I knew you were going to go. You just want world history because you like
some
history.
random ass number that no normal person could figure out. Okay. I'm not complaining because look, I need to get better at this. All right. I'm just saying this shit is impossible.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay. So how many muscles does an elephant have in its trunk?
Yes.
This is like how many muscles does a human have in its face? It's like 1,000. Like
Well,
different little like micro expressions.
It takes 43 muscles to smile, right?
Yeah.
It takes more to frown than to smile. Isn't that the axiom? Yeah.
Okay.
And elephants
43.
use their trunk as like another hand, essentially.
Among other things.
To drink,
Bathe themselves.
fight, maybe. Craig, you saw one. You went to Africa.
Saw many. I actually, to be honest,
This is biased towards Craig.
I don't know this answer, but I remember them telling me on a game drive. They mentioned how many muscles was in a trunk, but I can't remember.
Right, you guys want to go?
Not really.
Oh.
This
is your 700 moment.
I'm demoralized.
All right,
let's do
3,
this.
2, 1.
210.
150. All right, I said 150. What did you say?
I said 2,000.
I said 210.
Heifetz went high, real high.
40,000.
40,000.
The answer is
God
40,000
damn it.
muscles are in an elephant's trunk. That's a lot. That's a lot of muscles.
Wait, the answer is 40,000?
40,000 muscles are in an elephant's trunk. That's a lot.
Wow.
Okay, so sorry. What was Craig? What did you say again?
210.
Son of a bitch. Got
You
last
came in
again.
last again.
All right.
Wow, it's a
not
brutal
lucky.
week to come in last. I get Hunter Henry, Craig. I can't wait. One day I'm going to tell Hunter Henry that I added him in week 2 of waivers because there's 40,000 muscles in an elephant's trunk.
Heifetz was like, what did you guess? 2,000?
Yeah.
You're 38,000 off and you won.
Well, you know what?
You know
You
what?
have to be
That's
faster
all
than
it
the
takes
bear.
to win.
Yeah.
Right. It's really cute seeing baby elephants. They're like clumsier with their trunk, and they like struggle to put the food in their mouth. They're like how most of it drops out, all the grass. It's pretty funny.
Baby elephants are among the cutest things in the world.
They also eat like all day because elephants aren't great at digestion. So most of the food they eat actually doesn't get digested properly. So they are just shoveling grass into their mouth like all day, every day. They eat like thousands of pounds of food.
Dude, I never realized that that's a huge part of cooking. Like so much of what monkeys is the same thing.
breaking
Monkeys,
it down.
Yeah, monkeys eat like 12 hours a day because if you ate raw potatoes, you wouldn't really get any nutritional value from it whatsoever. But like cooking, you spend less time eating because when you eat it, it's actually nutritional.
All right. So you're taking
Anyway, so I'm going to go with yeah.
big gulps, huh? God, where are we at with Evan Ingram? How's Evan Ingram doing? How's his hamstring?
add him.
He's week to week.
Can we get him on the phone? He's week to week.
Week to week is always a bad thing for me. That sounds like a long time.
Week to week, to me, I think is coach speak for he won't play, but the player doesn't think that yet.
Yeah.
We're going to let him
We're
have
not
hope.
going to tell him that like now.
I think I'm not taking Zach Ertz out of principle. I can't do that. I'm between Brenton Strange on the Jaguars, real person,
Made up name.
or Colby Parkinson on the Rams. Colby Parkinson had 1 catch for 12 yards, but 66 routes run are the second most among tight ends this season. And there's nobody to catch passes. And he's a veteran who's running a lot of routes. But without Evan Ingram, Strange had a 25% target share this season, 2.3 yards per route run. Both those metrics better than anything that Ingram has done in his last 2 seasons on the Jags. I think I'm going to go with Brenton Strange. They're playing the Bills.
Nice. All right.
DK's running to the
Okay,
podium.
so I'm going to go with Zach Ertz, even though it pains me to say so.
Why are you guys so down on Zach Ertz? Oh, he's old. He had 62 yards last week at tight end standards.
Yeah, he's run 84% of his routes on the team's dropback. So in other words, he's out there running routes when they're throwing the ball. That was the 4th most among tight ends this week. 4 catches, 62 yards.
62 yards is 63 yards more than Christian Kirk had this week.
Yeah. Ben Sinnott is the tight end that they drafted. He's like a non-factor so far. He's not even playing barely. The only other guys I would choose here that I'm like debating choosing here are Colby Parkinson, like Craig mentioned with the Rams. Again, he's just running a lot of routes. They don't have anyone to catch passes. And so he could have a little bit bigger role going forward. And then Mike Gesicki for the Bengals, who's only playing like 50% of the snaps, but on the plays he's playing, he's the first read on a lot of these plays. Like they're drawing up plays for him. He actually leads the Bengals right now after 2 games in first read target share, according to Fantasy Points. So I think he's just going to be so volatile. It's really tough to play him. But if you're in dire straits at the tight end position, he's at least a little bit of like an upside gamble because he's been a big part of their passing game, honestly, so far, even though he's only playing like half the snaps. So I'm going to ultimately go with Ertz, but Gesicki was tempting.
This is all just nasty.
Yeah, it's
week
tough.
2, baby. Week 2.
We're right back to where we started.
All right, quarterback. If you need a quarterback, and again, I know a bunch of guys are hurt, I feel like number one. So, I mean, Justin Fields, if he's available, I think you definitely want to add him. He's pretty available in ESPN Yahoo. He's going to run more as the season goes on. I feel pretty confident about that. So I think Justin Fields, in terms of upside, having a backup quarterback, that's a guy you want just because, again, he's very, very hard to add a guy on waivers who could be top 5. I guess we have to acknowledge that Derek Carr is playing very well. I
just ride the wave until it ends.
My favorite quarterback in the NFL, Derek Carr. I've never disparaged him. 243 yards and 11 completions is pretty fucking hard to do.
Yeah.
And then the Saints
are averaging like 32 points a half. They're in the first half of games so far.
So that will continue. But no, they're playing the Eagles and the Falcons and the Chiefs next 2 weeks. So I mean, if you need, Derek Carr, it's hard to, it's, I guess if the worst thing that happens is I recommend Derek Carr and then he sucks, then I guess I'd be happy. So it's kind of a win-win if you think about it.
You'd be happy if he sucks? Hater.
A little.
Dude, look, you could.
If I had to pick one player that would be my least favorite player,
someone has to he's my least favorite player. But if I had to pick someone who was my least favorite,
a least favorite player that hasn't done anything wrong,
you could add Derek Carr and Alec Pierce and get the wide receiver 5 and the QB 5.
Yeah, you should probably do that. It's probably a good idea.
Oh man, I love small samples.
Probably just add those guys. Also, Geno Smith for the Seahawks is playing very well. Shout out DK. There you go.
He is playing really well.
Defenses. Dude, Raiders defense kind of sucks, but you know what? They're playing the Panthers this week. Maybe that's not as sexy now with Andy Dalton, so maybe we can scratch him off. I kind of had that, now that Bryce Young's, I guess we can take the Raiders off this list now.
Is there a new autoplay? Is there a team now that is above the Panthers in terms of autoplay the defense opposing them? Is it Denver?
I think it's the Giants. I think so. The Buccaneers are playing Denver. Oh my God. They haven't done anything much, the Buccaneers defense this year, but dude, Bo Nix versus Tampa Bay.
The shit out of him.
Yeah. The Packers defense versus Will Levis. I don't even love the Packers defense, but dude, Will Levis, as long as he's still playing, I don't know, he's doing dumb shit. But the team that I would pick, if they're available, the Bears, if the Bears are available, dude, they're playing the Colts and Anthony Richardson. And
the
Anthony
Bears
Richardson
defense is legit.
The Bears defense is legit. Richardson is not the most secure at the ball. Then they play the Rams and the MASH unit that are the Rams right now, and then Carolina. I think the Bears defense is a really good ad. And
where do we fall with the teams going against the Dolphins? It's like so funny because Achane, Tyreek, Waddle, but like the quarterback situation still very.
If they're available, yeah, you definitely. Seattle, they're playing Skylar Thompson in Miami. Yes, I think that you want that.
As much as I hate to say it, yeah, because I want the Dolphins to feed all their skill players, but Skylar Thompson starting, that's tough.
I'd also say the Bills defense. I think a lot of people cut the Bills, and the Bills, they have 10 days to prepare for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Jaguars are a fucking mess on offense between the sacks and the turnovers and the just general lack of energy and Doug Peterson seeming extremely sad in all of his press conferences. I think the Bills are pretty solid. So there's a bunch of teams. All right.
God, this was a messy waiver wire.
It's ugly.
Episode.
It was a messy week too.
Yeah.
Are we going to have Kai pick at some teams? We're going to make Kai eat some food next week? Are we making him?
Yeah,
guys.
You're going to have to bring him. He's picking I have Quentin Johnston. He's going to pick my team with the TCU. Right, Kai?
What's up, guys?
Go with your head, not your heart.
I mean, I got to tease it out a little bit, right? I mean, you want to hear the teams? What do we want to do?
Yeah. Make a show out of it.
Yeah, exactly. So DK's got Samaje Perine, Alec Pierce, and Zach Ertz.
I hate that team so much.
It's going to win.
Heifetz is Ty Chandler, Quentin Johnston, Go Frogs, and Hunter Henry.
That's good.
I'm going with
solid.
Heifetz. I'm going with Heifetz. Just good. Blind. I don't remember what Craig had.
Craig has Bucky Irving, Demarcus Robinson, and Brenton Strange. And then in keeping, up with the trivia, Craig has 2 dubs today and Heifetz has 1. So
where did I land?
I'm going to go. You didn't have any
dead last
this week.
Yeah, dead last. What do you finish?
So what's the total? Is the total 3-2-1 right now?
Oh, I don't know what it was last year or last week.
I believe it was 1-1-1.
Okay. Well, there you go.
That's your job, Kai. You got to keep up with that.
Kai wasn't here.
I was not on record last week, right?
Yeah, listen.
Well, if only someone had kept track of
listen to
what we talked about in the
show.
recording. If only it was written somewhere, saved.
I'm going to go with Heifetz. I'm going to go with the Frogs.
Go Frogs.
Quentin Johnston.
Yeah.
So,
Can't wait to
we'll
watch.
see. That's definitely going to burn me. So
Would you tell me
can't
horned
wait.
frogs bleed from their eyes?
Yeah. Fun fact. It's like a defense mechanism. That's why like on some of our jerseys, there's like a red accent.
Mm-hmm.
It's the blood in their eyes. So.
I can't wait to bleed from my eyes after watching Quentin Johnston.
If
Hey, man.
So let's say Heifetz's team does not win. Maybe we should do it where the winning team, whether it's me or DK, we get to decide the food that Kai eats. Is that how we've done it in the past?
Yeah, I think that's something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
that'll work.
So if
Get cooking because
if Bucky Irving cooks you motherfuckers, Kai's gonna eat. I don't know what.
Red grapes. Something
I hate red
crazy.
grapes.
Yeah.
He hates red grapes.
You already know. Well, if he already knows he
Why do
hates
you
them, we're
hate
not going to
red
make him eat
grapes?
them. We need him to try things he's never had before. Right?
Oh,
We're not,
yeah,
then it's just
that's true.
torture if
Yeah,
we're
it's-
making him eat something we know he hates.
But
No,
if
I
it's
haven't
been
had red
20
grapes in a while. It's pretty inoffensive.
That's
I'm
the
down,
thing.
If that's
Okay.
We're not bullying. We're kind of more like if you didn't like them when you were 6, maybe try them again now that it's been 20
Yeah, I
years.
just don't want him to have to eat things that he's like, I actively hate this and it repulses me.
I think the number's 10 years. I think if you haven't had something in 10 years, it's worth trying it again.
I probably haven't had red grapes in 10 years.
I think that's worth it because your taste buds quite literally change.
Yeah. I'm currently in the process of starting to like blue cheese.
Dude, yeah, olives, oysters. Those are all
I'm
things
the
that I
opposite,
never
Craig.
liked.
I got the ick with blue cheese, and I'm like, I don't think I can eat this anymore.
That's just because you're 40.
I've basically been practicing immersion therapy on foods I don't like. I've just been kind of forcing myself to eat them, and my palate is honestly adapting. I used to not like blue cheese. There's a restaurant in LA called Father's Office, and they make a phenomenal burger.
Great burger.
But you cannot make any alterations. You cannot add or take away anything from the burger. I actually had an argument, like a polite argument with the waiter one time, the first time I went there, and he was like, "What do you want?" I ordered the burger, and I was like, "Can I get no blue cheese?" And he's like, "Sorry, no changes." And I was like, "I know, but I'm not asking to add anything else. Just remove the blue cheese. I'm saving you blue cheese. I'm saving the restaurant money."
No soup for you.
And he was like, "No, like we have to have blue cheese." So I was like, "Fine." So now I order it all the time whenever I go, and I'm like starting to like it more and more. So that's kind of my plan. I used to hate almonds when I was a kid. Now I love almonds because I just started eating a lot of almonds.
I would never
Good
go
job,
to that
Craig.
restaurant.
Well, I might have to tweet the picture of Kai, the lunch we got in
receipt.
Seattle, where it was like this elaborate steak sandwich, and it was just like the ticket was just no cheese, no onions, no arugula, no mayo, and it was just like
No tomatoes.
like, all the ingredients listed out. It was like a CVS receipt of everything.
It's like the
wanted on
Meg
it.
Ryan scene in When Harry Met Sally. That is Kai
Yeah.
at every restaurant.
It's just like a peek into my daily life. Like
Yeah.
that's just every single time I order food anywhere. It's just like that. So,
All right, there we
yeah,
go.
excited
Kai.
to bring this back though. Can't
Bang.
wait to tried a kiwi last year, mac and cheese.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah,
crazy.
Branch
You're in
out.
for a wild ride.
All right, you want to do a couple emails now?
Emails.
We have an email from Layla.
Layla.
Layla, incredible email. All right. Layla writes, turns out until the last 5 years, scientists did not know where or how eels reproduce.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about this.
I think we've talked about this on the
We
pod.
have. So
Yeah.
eels, it was a good explanation. So, and she linked to like actual studies and stuff. Eels that have lived in rivers across Europe and North America for centuries had never been observed spawning, and nobody had ever seen a juvenile eel. Throughout history, people have had all sorts of theories about where eels came from. Some people thought they were formed of mud and rainwater, and some people thought they emerged from sea foam, or they were later metamorphosed to stage of beetles. Nobody fucking knew. And people had seen adult eels leave river systems, go out into the ocean, but they hadn't been able to track where they were going, and they couldn't observe younger eels re-entering the river system as a whole thing.
Whoa.
So scientists have slowly, over past decades, been able to slowly trace migrating adult eels farther and farther and farther out along their migration routes across the ocean. And horrifyingly, in 2022, they discovered all the eels in the Atlantic Ocean converge in one place. And it's in the Bermuda fucking Triangle.
Oh. Wow.
All the eels, it's called the Sargasso Sea, the Sargasso Sea. I'm not the pronunciation guy, but it's in and around the Bermuda Triangle, which is where all the shipwrecks in the down plains are. And it's the birthplace and graveyard of basically all the eels in the Atlantic Ocean.
So it's just
Coincidence?
I think not. So it's like the Olympic Village for eels, essentially.
Exactly. Bingo.
Why? Why do they go there? That is fascinating.
It's pretty crazy. It's
And they
crazy.
Dude,
spawn.
imagine stumbling upon that place. That'd be terrifying.
Just a giant eel orgy.
And they spawn? Is that how they reproduce them?
Yeah.
Wow.
Giant eel orgy for the entire ocean.
Imagine, anchoring the boat, hopping off for a quick swim. And you realize that you're just surrounded by eel eggs. And sperm.
Among other things.
I think whales do this kind of stuff too. There's like convergent spots in the ocean that like all the whales just go to and hang out.
Yeah, and the crabs on that island that all the nature shows now show. The Christmas crabs.
Oh yeah, when they all climb up on shore.
Yeah, I feel like I watched all those
Invade.
nature shows as a kid. I didn't realize it was like they're all just orgies. The penguins do the orgy. Like everyone's, it's just kind of nuts.
Sex makes the world go round, Heifetz.
And that's the new USC quarterback. No, not the USC. Who's the orgy kid playing? No, Michigan. Michigan's new quarterback's orgy.
Oh, yeah.
His name is Orgy.
His name is Orgy. Well, not his
The
last
orgy
name.
kid.
Alex Orgy.
Yeah.
Would you rather be Alex Orgy or Michael Penix?
Do I have all the season-ending injuries if I'm Michael Penix?
No, you're you. Right? But you're hosting this podcast and you're Alex Orgy or Michael Penix.
Alex Orgy really rolls off the tongue. So
It does.
ORJI, by the way.
Just like, and you're on like a roster and it's just a orgy. We should probably get out of here now. All right. Thank you, DK. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Carlos Sakai, for producing this episode. Thank you, everyone, for emailing us at ringer.fantasyfootball@gmail.com. Emails, trivia questions, emails, thoughts on eels or, well, I don't know if we want orgy stuff for Power Hour, but eels, whatever the hell.
Animal orgies. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. All right. Yeah, animal orgy facts. And then, emails for the Sunday categories on Sunday and the Sunday episodes. We'll read a couple during the show Friday. And then, our rankings for week 3. Oh my God, it's already week 3. Go up Thursday morning so you can have our start sit rankings for week 3. Thank you, Lord.
Thank you, Suki Waterhouse.
Oh, yeah. Robert Pattinson. Wife now?
Oh, yeah?
Right? Are they married now?
I don't know who that is. Suki
Waterhouse? She's a musician, but she's been with Pattinson for a while. I'm surprised you don't know her.
Oh, I guess I think I've seen her. Suki Water. 4 million followers on Instagram.
Are you a fan of hers, DK? Do you listen to her music?
I've heard that one song, that famous one, but I can't say I'm like a big fan. I'm not against her music. I've just never listened to it.
Nice.
I just ran across her name.
I think she was the opening act for Swift on one of her shows in Europe, I think. Great name, though. Got to say. Suki Waterhouse is like all time.
It's way better.
The main character from True Blood, Suki. Is it Suki or Suki?
Don't know that.
You asking me?
Yeah, it's a good call. Good point. Yeah, it's Suki Waterhouse. She's British.
Yeah.
So anyways, it's not Suki like in True Blood. It's Suki.
Yep.
Suki Waterhouse.
Glad we cleared that up.
Yeah.
This is definitely getting cut, right?
Maybe. Well, we'll see.
Goodbye, everyone.